This is the process shot. I'm Michael. I don't think I can grow any taller. And I've seen Peter Pan and Wendy, a new fantasy adventure from director David Lowery, and either an adaptation of the children's story or a remake of the old Disney film. I think it's both. Anyways, the movie does stick pretty closely to the classic, following Wendy Darling and her younger brothers as they are whisked away by Peter Pan to Neverland. While it may be a world where they never have to grow up, it's still fraught with danger, especially whenever Captain Hook shows up to fight Peter. However, underneath the carefree optimism and childish antics, Wendy is able to see that there is more to the conflict than either party truly wants to admit, and which may be the key difference between growing up and growing old, or something like that. While the movie isn't so completely deep and thematic that it forgets to be a fairy tale, the story strikes a good balance between its fantasy roots and the coming-of-age narrative, and in a way it works out pretty well as an expansion or update of the original story. It does have a few bumps along the way, generally in how it sticks to a familiar structure with plot turns that can be seen coming, especially with the amount of foreshadowing and direct exposition that occurs. I assume the target audience wouldn't do well with subtleties, so I'm not surprised it's written this way. Still, it does feel a bit stilted at times, as do some other moments which feel more like thematic statements rather than natural dialogue. What we do get does still flow pretty well, and rarely ever feels out of place, if at all. It's helpful that the movie treats itself as a bedtime fantasy story, with a silly sort of tone even when Captain Hook and other adult characters are concerned, with an underlying idea of a child's perspective of adventure and heroics, maybe even commenting a bit on the nature of such stories and the elements that are taken for granted. But again, it's not exactly trying to be overly complex in this way. Instead, allowing the story to be shaped in a way that lets the director make it in his own image, changing what may not have worked in the past and streamlining the rest, and being able to add to the story while respecting the original material. The technical aspects of the film are also where the filmmakers are able to solidify their unique take on the story, especially in its visuals. Much of the film seems to have been shot on location or with real environments, giving a sense of scale to Neverland and other settings, which makes each place feel larger than life, and certainly increasing the sense of danger within stunt work. Cinematography helps this further by simply letting these larger environments exist on the screen, with characters becoming dwarfed by the world around them, and the grandness on display ultimately defining a true sense of life within each location. Coloring choices help this as well, with saturation that brings out natural greens and blues, or drying out and using faded colors whenever involving Hook and his pirate ship. Most of all, the film's special effects are used very effectively, almost invisibly in multiple scenes, which is also thanks to a smooth editing flow. Personally, I actually ended up so enthralled by all of this that these effects almost felt like magic for once. The technical focus of the film seems to be about this, and overall the movie puts all of this to use to bring an interesting twist to a fairy tale classic, filling it with new life, so to speak. It does have a handful of drawbacks, but even so, they have more to offer than meets the eye. Peter Pan and Wendy, David Lowery, 2023. 4 stars. I'd say it's worth giving a watch. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you have something to add, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. This is probably the first of these Disney remakes that's actually made me have hope for the premise. Granted, I've never actually seen them all, but those I have seen weren't great. Hopefully, this one becomes an inspiration or something.